it must have been a while because I can't figure out my equipment, but we are recording now. 2 different tracks, luckily. And in that time, you have chugged your beer while I still have 2/3 of mine to go.
I drink too much beer. That's just that's the truth.
Not a problem. It's a good start, actually.
Good,
I drink too much beer. It's a good way to let's roll into this.
That's a good problem to have.
It is.
Some people would say.
Welcome, listeners, to episode 42 of Stories from a Bar. I, of course, am the host, Chris Osborne, and for this episode, I'm hanging out with Jake, the creator of Northeast Beer Community. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me. It's been a long time coming. We've been trying to get together, but I'm happy to be on.
Awesome. Yeah, man. I thank you so much for taking the time to hang out. You seem like a busy guy online with your constant field trips and beer drinking.
Yeah, no, I'm always trying to seek new breweries, go to breweries that I love. You know, I always make it out to Treehouse every now and then.
I've noticed your affinity for Treehouse.
I always say it's the community, you know, is built around Northeast beer, but Treehouse has definitely been probably the number one brewery that's built it. In the sense of it's a lot of Treehouse drinkers, a lot of people that it's some people just say it's just a Treehouse fanboy page, which I like to deny. I try to throw in some fun stuff, but I love Treehouse, and a lot of people do too. So I started commenting on their posts and all that kind of stuff, and I just gained a lot of followers that way, and that's kind of how we Treehouse is kind of I don't want to say the brewery of Northeast beer community, but it's one of them. So.
And we'll talk about the beers in a second, but I want to do one thing quick and I'm happy to announce for all the fine listeners out there, if the millions and millions of people that'll hear this, I'm sure. You can now use the discount code STORIES for 3% off your purchase from Uptown Beverage in Schenectady. Huge beverage center, great selection from all the local breweries you know and love, as well as anything else you may be looking for. If you somehow can't find what you're looking for, they're always happy to go out and try to find it for you. And my favorite part is they offer delivery, which when you've been day drinking and you run out of beer and can't go anywhere, that's where they come in handy. I've had delivery from there a few times, and it's worked out great. So check out Uptown Beverage, discount code STORIES. I think that's my first ad during one of these podcasts.
You did great.
Yeah.
We could have just rolled right back into it.
We could. Well, I mean, we're all about beer here.
That's true.
Mostly.
Yeah. And communities.
Like I said, it's finally nice to get a chance to meet, chat, and have apparently multiple beers, as you've brought some other goodies.
Yeah.
But
I guess we can go through them as we go.
Yeah.
But first beer I'm going to crack is Julius from Treehouse, which is I always talk about probably one of my favorite expressions they make. Of course, Julius is their flagship beer, but this is just a brilliant, well done, super hopped up, but soft beer. I mean, it's everything. I always say it's the Julius and Good Green are they're exactly what Treehouse does best, in my opinion. Super fluffy, super light, but super juicy.
So I mentioned this before we started recording, and I'm embarrassed by it almost, but I'm fairly confident I've never had a Treehouse beer.
That's crazy to me. That's to me that seems like a crazy thing to not have. I mean, it's so part of my, I don't say my life, but
I know all about them, and it's one of those bucket list things or something. I'm like, I'm going to take a drive out there one of these weekends and finally stock up.
Yeah, no, you have to. I mean, it's not only is their beer phenomenal.
Oh wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it is great.
That's nice, juicy looking, thick.
Yeah, and there's a taste to it that I always just say, like, there's a Treehouse taste with every brewery. There's a taste. There's something that makes them unique. A lot of the times
that does taste a little unique. I feel like I'm tasting some stuff I haven't before.
I always I don't want to call it bubblegummy, but you kind of get that thing, even though I normally get that out of like a Chinook type of hop, but then it's not in there. But yeah, it's super unique. I mean, every time I go out there, I always say, got all this beer is great, but the people out there are amazing. The employees and the facility is, it's incredible. Man. I mean, it's like jaw dropping how like a brewery can be this beautiful. It's so well done.
It looks phenomenal.
Thought out, trails to hike on. It's just they're hosting shows. I'll be out at I'm seeing the Tallest Man. He's performing there. I think it's like October 17th or so. I'm going out there for a concert on a Monday, which might be a little irresponsible, but I just like his music, so I'm gonna go out there and drink some beers, and hopefully, I always say it's always great to go out to Treehouse because I go out there and I'm typically wearing like my Northeast Beer Community shirt, and every time I'm out there, I either run into one of the people in the community or just get like recognized, like, oh, you're Northeast Beer Community. I'm like, I guess I am.
You are the community.
Yeah, I mean, even the Treehouse employees, I've had a few of them be like, oh, that's you, and I'm like, I guess that's me. I don't know. It's everybody though. I always say it's not as much as we were talking about this before the show. It's like this, originally started as like a kind of a safe space for people to drink beer and post it and love it and just no hate.
Yeah.
Like I sometimes weird Treehouse little tangents get posted. Like I'll repost and somehow it blows up a little bit and people will like post below it, but they don't follow. They're not part of the. I always say part of the community. Like you don't follow the community, and they're like hating on Treehouse on the stuff. I'm like, no, we don't hate on breweries.
Your buddy's having trouble with the door. At first, yes. So
right there.
Yeah, man, pull up a chair. I forgot your name already. I apologize. Keith.
Like the weed.
Keith. Okay.
Real name. Too.
Wow. I'm going to pronounce that Kif, which I think was the Napoleon Dynamite's brother, if I'm not mistaken. Kif. Oh, was it Kip?
Yeah. We'll go with it.
Yeah.
We'll go with it.
So
Whatever. Julius hit me already. That's what it was.
It's true.
But yeah, we did.
Damn, this beer's so good.
Now we've got some others to touch on, but first I want to do a quick shout out to Dave Gardell and the Ruck for letting us hang out up in their what I call the smokers lounge looking room on the third floor. I love this room. This is where I hung out with Dave and I recorded an episode with him. So anybody, if you're interested in the Ruck, go back and check that out. Check out that episode. I don't smoke, but I feel like I need a smoker's jacket.
Yeah, I mean it's like leather chairs.
As we sit in these leather chairs.
You got this this brick here. It's pretty. I said earlier. I said this would have been a good spot for the Northeast Beer Community anniversary party. I was like, should have thought about the Ruck. Maybe next year we'll see. But
so if you hear any squeaking, that's not farting. That is what happens when you sit in leather chairs. I feel like it's important to put that out there because I don't know what these mics will pick up.
That's true. They seem sensitive. I don't know.
I'm also drinking some Rare Form Confetti. Rare Form, of course, local, right around the corner from here. Good stuff.
I can't remember whatever beer I had before this. Anyway, not that it wasn't memorable, but I just drank it. I never heard of it before. But
that's another thing I wanted to come to the Ruck. It's a perfect place. We're talking about Northeast beers and all over. They have a huge, awesome draft selection.
Phenomenal.
Just walk in. They have your menu and all kinds of great stuff. And cans.
It's just cool. We always say, one of my favorite things is to try new beers. I go out. I mean, as much as maybe listeners will say or they follow along, oh, he only drinks Treehouse and Fidens. I think people that come over to my house,
says the guy drinking Treehouse and wearing a Fidens hat.
Yeah, I mean that's normally where you'll find me, but it's one of those things. I always say, everything I post or everything I drink, I don't post. It's like because. I'll take one beer from the night that I really like, or the first beer, and then I'll post it. But I'm not posting everything I drink. That's just
I don't
the
either.
case. I mean, it's just you guys don't want that. I don't want that. I mean, everybody doesn't want that.
No, I mean when I obviously I post a lot of beer pictures, but it's really only like the first time when I'm trying something new.
Okay.
That's when I post a picture. If I ever get it again, I don't generally do it.
Well, I always say one of the tough things is. I was saying before, I use like a big DSLR camera for my photos, and started doing that probably a few months ago, which has made the photos way better.
I'm still using my iPhone 7S.
Well, hey, some of the iPhone cameras, I have one of the crappy ones, so they not crappy, but one of the lower end camera ones, and the new cameras, I'm like, ooh, maybe I should get one of those. I don't have to carry around because I go to breweries, I bring this camera, which is fun and all, but it's something I don't always want to do. And then one of the tough things is, when you're hanging out with family, friends. And you got the camera, and you think I'm starting the night. We're hanging out with people. We're having food, and I'm over in the corner like editing my beer pictures for everybody else. It's like that's why I don't want to post every single beer. It's like people are like, oh, here he goes again, taking all the pictures of the beer.
That is the thing. Like when I go out, I'm like, yeah, I want to take pictures, but then I don't want to sit there and be antisocial for 10 minutes. Yeah, posting stuff it can almost be like a full-time job.
Absolutely. Oh, everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody always says like, are you on Untapped? And I'm like, I am on Untapped. Just like look us up, but I'm not posting everything because that's another thing. Like when you're drinking with somebody and you're having beers and buddy's always trying to go on Untapped and figure out what the rating is. I'm just like, I drink the beer and see if I like it.
That's pretty much what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like I mean that was another thing. Like I tried to like start like a rating system and which I liked, and it was kind of based on, it wasn't on Untapped because I think Untapped's tough. Like I always said like you can't compare a barrel aged 18% stout to a pale ale. The way you need to do it is you need to rate them against themselves, right? Because you won't find many pale ales above 4.2 on Untapped. But it's like I always said the best pale ale should be a 5 on Untapped, right?
Yeah. And
the best stout should be a 5 on Untapped. But then like you have to base it off the category, not just beer. It's just a little bit more.
Beer rankings always. I don't generally go by them. Like, there's times, of course, when I'm walking around a giant beverage center, I'm like, what should I get? And maybe I'll look up some ratings.
Sure.
I don't get too much into the weeds with, any of the reviews and stuff under there. Yeah. But because it's like any kind of art, it's a matter of preference for one thing.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not a huge stout fan, so I rarely drink stouts.
Yeah.
I'll drink pretty much anything else. But something about stouts, like, I keep trying them every so often. I'm like, I just can't. I don't know why.
Yeah,
it doesn't tickle my fancy.
I mean, yeah, I drink obviously most IPAs. That's like my shtick. I would say. You'll see a rare sour, rare stout every now and then. And I always say, and it has to be the right one. I talk about if you're around me enough, you hear that I just love Mortalis stouts out in Rochester.
Is that where Mortalis is? I haven't had any of their stuff.
Technically. But just they make phenomenal stouts and they'll make BA stouts that are barrel aged in Elijah Craig barrels and really well done. But then they'll also do cans like Venus, which I always say is my favorite variant of stout that they do, or anybody does. It's my favorite soundtrack because they do different conditionings on it, like animal cookie, animal cracker, whatever they call those things, Chips Ahoy, like stuff like that. But it's 6% stout. It's super sweet and super drinkable. It comes in a can. Nice. I'm just like, I don't know. To me, that's like what I want. I want that's what I want. I want it to be desserty. Like I'm not cracking with dinner, a big heavy stout. Like I want after dinner. It's kind of more like ice cream than anything. And
dessert beer.
Yeah, that's where I've gone with stouts. I just don't drink it that much. I really like hops.
I do too. I think my craft beer fascination probably started with pale ales and pilsners.
Sierra Nevada, something like that.
Not even that. Probably, are you familiar with Mad Jack in Schenectady?
Yeah.
The Van Dyke. That's probably where I started really getting into my craft beer phase. I knew someone that used to work there at a time. I think actually a buddy of mine went and sat at the bar his entire shift for like 8 hours.
Okay.
And so that was a fun day.
Yeah.
But, and then I kind of branched more out into the IPAs and stuff like that.
I've always been like, I always say, consumed by craft. I mean, originally, Magic Hat was like...
It was definitely after college. College was beer pong beer and whatever I could afford.
Yeah, whatever. I went out to school out in Rochester, so Jenny Light, Genesee Brewery, that's all we drank, which I still love,
Well, I remember getting together with friends and pre-gaming with, and when I say friends, I'm talking like me and one or two other guys. We just buy a 30 rack of Keystone to pre-game with, and by the time we finish that off, we go out, we're like, I'm feeling fine. I'm ready to go. Just feel very, very hydrated.
Well, it's funny. I've always returned to domestics every now. Oh, especially I guess tomorrow's the first kickoff of football. But always during football season, I always return. And it's funny. I walk into with family or friends, and I'll drink a Yingling, a Bud Light. I'll drink whatever,
Yingling was the college beer. There was a bar right around the house that served the Bombers with those 24-ounce bottles on wing night. So we were just chugging Yinglings.
It's a great beer, and you can only get it. There's a lot of people that don't like it on the West Coast, and you can't get it. It's sort of weird. I don't know what the deal is. I know it's made in Pennsylvania, but yeah, I'm with my buddy Joe, Joe's Arcade. I don't know if some people follow him. I always tweet at him. He's one of my good buddies. But he's been drinking a ton of hams. And he's like, you need to get on the hams train again. And Monkish just made the Hamster beer, which was it's definitely a salute to the domestic hams. And I don't know. It's kind of hard to get. It's weird. I don't know. People like
Yeah,
domestics.
I'm
I like
not familiar with that. No, I don't have a problem with them.
Yeah, people see me drinking them, they're like, "What are you doing? Like, isn't your palate all messed up now? Like, is your palate yelling at you? You know, you're doing is drinking these like."
The funny question you always get asked if people know you for beer or drinking beer is like, "Well, what's your favorite beer?" I started just saying free. I'm like, I'm not a snob. Like, I love craft beers and trying stuff. But
Well, I always say that, you know, not obviously, you know, I feel like when you're a kid, free beer is great. Free is definitely my second favorite type of beer. A cold one.
Cold. I should say cold.
I say cold. It's like, you know, maybe I obviously, you know, with these crafts are expensive. I have a little bit of money to spend on beer, but cold is where I go. You know, I just love a nice cold beer, which temperature is actually a fascinating thing with beer. I've talked about this a lot, you know. Joe who says, you know, I drink my triples ice cold. I always drink them ice cold.
I always keep 2 to 3 pint glasses in my freezer.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Especially since I have so many of my own still to hand.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I love, like, for domestics, ice like a frosted glass. Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Temperature on beer is so, you know, most IPAs, I don't know. I was talking to the Treehouse guys. They were saying I don't know what they said they keep the fridge at where they take the kegs out of, but it's like 38. But I've also heard, I want to say, I mean, I don't want Nate to quote me on it, but Nate from Treehouse I thought said 42 is where he prefers it. I mean, you'll see it when you drink beers, especially, like, you know, we're drinking the Julius right now. It was really good, super sweet, ice cold right when we cracked it. As it warms, though, you'll get more of the more hop flavor, stuff like that. I also say, like,
no, there's a reason Europe serves their beer basically room temperature.
Yeah, I mean,
which I'm curious. I haven't been to Europe. Hopefully, one of these days.
Yeah,
go experience that.
I gotta get out there. There's different. I mean, there's so many great breweries out there, and so they, you know, the styles are totally different. I mean, I've been drinking a lot more lagers lately. But I guess I go to Suarez down in Suarez Family Brewing.
Yeah, I want to check them out.
What?
I want to check them out.
Yeah, you got to go to Suarez. They're phenomenal. They're still pickup only, I believe. And they used to have a tap room, but with COVID and everything, they're still shut down. But from Albany, it's about an hour.
Is it that far? Well, I didn't even think it was that far.
Well, yeah, I guess that far. That seems super short. I'm like, yes, they're an hour away.
No, an hour's not bad.
Yeah.
I just thought it was even shorter than that.
Yeah, and I think Dan Suarez is one of the descendants of Sean Hill up at Hill Farmstead. So when you're drinking those beers, not that you're drinking Hill Farmstead beer, but it's pretty close to it. He was one of the head brewers up there, and not head brewer, I guess Sean was. But you know, he has a lot of Hill Farmstead type beers. Yeah, I mean, when you drink their beers, like, they're just so well balanced, and a lot of them are table beers, which I love. You know, nice bottles, and they're not super expensive, like $10. Nice bottle of lager. Yeah, and I'll bring it to a dinner. You know, I'll bring it to a nice little dinner, and we'll crack that instead of a bottle of wine. You know, it's meant to be paired with food. I think, you know, I don't know, I just love that. I love, like, not pretentious beer. You know? I guess that's like I mean, that's also like what the community always went after. I was like, I don't want to be pretentious. Like, that's what I said in the rating scale earlier. Like, I brought it up and like whatever, but I haven't really done it much. But really, a beer should be rated on yourself. You like it or you don't.
Yeah, like I said, it's a matter of preference. That's why I don't bother when I'm just looking to get an idea of ratings or something like that. I'll just take a quick look at, you know, how many positive reviews or something like that. I don't sit there and read through the reviews because I have a general idea of at least the types of beers I like. So if I see a high-starred IPA or Pilsner, I'm like, yeah, I'll probably like that then.
Sure.
But I don't feel qualified to review beers myself. I don't feel like I have a sophisticated enough palate to really distinguish.
I don't either. Even though people always.
I mean, how was it? Delicious.
It's just good. Yeah.
I'm like,
well, I always get
delicious and hoppy. That was.
Yeah, that's how it is. I mean, it's so hard. Like,
there's so many out there that there's only so many ways you can. It feels like there's only so many adjectives I could use at this point to review and describe stuff.
Juicy, you know, I mean, all that stuff. I always say when I was like, oh, I'll start writing about beer, and that's how this whole thing started. It was like I was just going to be. I had a blogspot.com. I think it was anybeercommunity.blogspot.com, which is always like a joke, you know. And I started it because I was like, I just wanted to kind of write about beer, and I hated Facebook groups where there's a bunch of jerks that just, I don't know, ask the same question. It was not a place that I wanted to be. It was like I just want to do this and see what happens. and then obviously it turned into something way bigger than I ever expected, which is crazy. I mean, we're talking about I'm coming up on 1 year. I think it's maybe past by now. Maybe somebody will scroll all the way back, but it's like, it was only been 1 year. So many, I don't know, so many great memories, so many people to meet. It's truly crazy. I never expected it to turn into anything it did. I mean, it's just it's amazing. I love it.
Let's talk more about Northeast since that's why we're here. I see you're ready to pour another beer. So let's do that.
I'm ready to pour another beer. It's up to you. We do have West Coast. My buddy Joe's Arcade on YouTube. I'll give him his plug here. Great beer YouTuber. I guess they all are.
Yeah.
But he sent me this West Coast sticky flowers from Slice. I don't think they distribute. It's one of those you have to be there type of things, which
Crack
sucks.
it open, man. I'm ready.
It's West Coast, I want to say. So I love West Coast.
What was great is I was preparing for this episode last night. I generally, of course, put notes together. And usually I'm talking to a brewer, business owner, or something like that. There's some kind of focus. But I'm like, I was just drinking. I'm like, this conversation, I feel like it's just going to go all over the place. It was probably the easiest time I had writing any kind of notes. Just, I like this beer. Where have you been?
Sure.
Tell me about Northeast community. You know what? This just kind of flowing now.
Yeah, I don't know. I just
so hopefully this is interesting for a number of reasons for people out there.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, I was drinking my Fidens last night. My Eugene's Axe at 8.5%. Feeling good. Trying to crank out a few notes before I caught up on Ted Lasso.
Yeah,
it is a great show.
They're dangerous. It's I always joke around. You get one Fidens, you're like, oh, it's a double IPA. It's 8.5%, and it will kick you in the butt. It's you get too many of those, and we go on the Fidens train right now and just talk. Everybody knows my love for Fidens. It's a thing. I just have. I don't want to say. I hate people like, oh, from the start I've been there. It's like, I don't know. I started drinking Fidens when they started doing crowlers.
Yep.
During COVID, and I always, I've said to them and all that, but I don't know how much I've spoken about it, but I loved their beer. I wasn't head over heels for it, but my issue was my turnoff was the price. So we talked about, cheap. Cheap beer is phenomenal beer. We talked about before. Alchemist, $12.70 a 4-pack.
That's
awesome. Oh, the sticky fingers.
Yeah, sticky fingers. I like that. It's nice.
Super West Coasty.
Yeah. No, but you're right. That's why, I want to take a day trip, like I was talking about, into Vermont and stop at Alchemist and just load up, because I feel like the difference between loading up on cases there makes up for the gas anyway.
Absolutely.
Actually find a place here to buy them.
Yeah, I love that. I love Alchemist. I love Heady Topper. I always promote. I love Heady Topper more than Focal Banger, and everybody disagrees, and I say. It's more nostalgia.
I lean more Heady Topper than I do Focal Banger. They're both fantastic.
Yeah, I just think it's Heady Topper is exactly. It's Heady Topper. It's what for me. We're talking about started. Magic Hat was a lot of it, but then I kind of wrote about it on one of my blogs about my find for Heady Topper, and I went to a Bills game when Heady Topper was extinct, and it was just this guy had an entire cooler of it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've never had this beer. I've been seeking this beer, and then I tried it and I was like, wow.
It's almost like it's like a unicorn. It randomly
It
appears.
was just meant to be. And then, I took a 4-pack home of it, and I've, forever chased it and stuff like that. And then I kind of, I obviously got onto a bunch of Treehouse, a lot more hazy stuff, a lot more juicier stuff. And then I've always, we were talking about this. I'll get a 4-pack or 2 in tomorrow, and I can't wait. Well, I would say it reminds me of football, especially because I saw it at a Bills game, and it reminds me of the fall. And it's funny, I've told people that, and they're like, I could see that. It's like I love that beer in the fall. You'll see me drinking Heady Topper in the fall. It's just
so it's funny now that because it's September now, and all the Oktoberfest start coming out in August. They just starting to pop up everywhere. There was one time I went to a bar, July 28th, on my buddy's birthday. I asked for a summer ale. They're like, we just tapped Oktoberfest. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? It's July 28th.
Yeah.
So I refuse to drink any of those fall beers or beers that make me think of fall until at least September 1st. And then I go on a heavy train of Oktoberfest on ciders, basically so I make myself sick of them again for another year. I've got a nice drawer at home. My day drinking beer right now, I just is the Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest, and I got a couple Sam's Oktoberfest because those are just my general go-to day drinking Oktoberfest.
Sure.
I like the 4 Orange one. I saw they were releasing their Oktoberfest today, so I got a whole.
I saw Yeah.
Try
We
and
can
get some of
back
them.
down there.
Chatham has a real good one.
I just get intimidated with Fort Orange with their very intense cornhole league.
Is it intense?
Oh, it's so. We were down there. I don't know, a few weeks ago. I mean, they got boards for days. I was like, people bring their own bags. I was like, I've never. I mean, I'm not around that scene, but I was like, if you're into that, like, I guess go to Fort Orange.
That much of a scene where people have customized?
They've customized bags.
Sandbags?
People got like, I don't know, people wearing gloves. I'm like, gloves? Playing cornhole? I was like, I'm playing in the backyard with some hot dogs and hamburgers. Like, what? I mean,
then you drink
awesome
too much and start throwing them at the people. That's
Sure.
how that's supposed to end.
Well, I mean, the way that league gets dicey is I'm sure there's money on the line, but there's guys that are drinking a lot or guys that are drinking nothing. And then, the guys are kind of looking at them like, grab a beer, man.
Some people take their cornhole very seriously.
People take everything seriously. I would say that. People take beer too seriously. That's the truth.
They do. It's one of the reasons you started Northeast, right?
Absolutely.
So I want to say, because just looking at your website, you state that my goal is to bring craft beer back to its roots. I miss the days when craft beer used to be fun, judgment-free, about enjoying great beer. So tell me a little bit about that.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I kind of mentioned it earlier. So, like, I was very heavy into, like, Facebook groups and all that type of jazz. And there's a toxic nature to all the Facebook groups. I mean, Facebook in general might be toxic. I'm not going to go on that. But
I've noticed that, I guarantee you in anything where people can post, if anybody gets in an argument of any kind, it always ends with a Nazi or Hitler reference, I've noticed.
Oh, my God.
That's how fast these ridiculous arguments get out of hand.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen so many arguments. I mean, I'm also, like I always say, people, if you know me in person, I'm as much of a bourbon drinker as I am a beer drinker. And the bourbon community is the same way. I mean, there's people that are just, like I said, the only way I can describe it is just toxic. And it was like very judgmental, like, oh, you need to go to this brewery, you need to go to this brewery. Like, drink whatever you want to drink. Go to the store and buy some beer. Like, what craft beer to me was always about was enjoying great beer and sharing great beer. Like, isn't it great when you have a buddy over and you say, hey, I just got this great beer in. Like,
oh yeah,
try this. Like that. When I just shared it to the Julius, the first Treehouse, it's like that isn't like
that
to
was
me.
My first Treehouse. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that officially because I'm fairly confident I have.
But like I love that. It's one of those things. Like I think his name's Jason. Kept messaging me like he's never had fines. I said, all right, like what's your address? Like you're getting fined. It's like I look because in me putting together, I put a care package together for him and sent it out to him. I was like. That's more like I always say I love sharing beer more than I love drinking it.
It is fun.
It's fun.
It's a unique experience when you come across a beer you really love and you share it with someone and you see their reaction, especially if they really enjoy it. It's a little heartbreaking when they don't like it.
I think there was always like people always say like 80% of the beer community is great and 20% ruin it or something. There's always those type of things. I mean, not that maybe I'm wrong on this, but when the point during COVID and all that type of stuff, especially when breweries were struggling and, trying to everything they could do to keep afloat, I literally saw I almost saw it flipped. Like 20% were good, 80% were not good. And I was like, I want to create a space for people to love, Like we had I don't know where he is. I don't even want to like look back. But there was stuff like during football, I always say, I'll drink some Hams, I'll drink some Bud Lights, like, I love watching the Giants and drinking Bud Light, I don't know.
Well, especially day drinking. I'm like, I need something like that to begin with.
Like, sure, I would love to have some Suarez Pilsners, but not always the case. And also, It's not that bad to grab, a cheap pack of Bud Light. And there was this guy last year that kept commenting when I would drink domestics and post them. And he was just so upset. He was like, you're around all this great beer. Like, how are you not drinking this? And I was just like, because this is the beer I'm drinking. I like it. I don't know. Like chill. Like
I know, relax, man. It's like
you're not. That's exactly what I don't want. And it's like I always laugh when like I said, I tag Treehouse and somehow these other people get a hold of the post and start like going at like how are you making this version of King smoothie and all this stuff? And I'm like, these guys aren't community people. Like you'll never see hate on the community, which I love. And then I mean beyond that, like there's a ton of people that have met each other and met through this group and shared beer through this group. And I mean, it's just been like super. I mean, people that saw the same shit. They saw like all these assholes. There's a bunch. I mean, there's a bunch of them.
So, and the group's really a reflection of the beer community as a whole because as long as I've been doing this podcast, I'm talking to brewers or even bar owners, like literally everyone knows each other, helps each other out. That's the kind of community it is. They're some of the nicest, friendliest people I've ever met.
For sure. There's great people in the beer community. There's
awesome
people.
So it's awesome people. Some of the craziest, for sure.
That's for sure.
But still super cool and kind people. So when you get those snobs that are like, how can you? I'm like, dude, that's not what craft beer is about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I always say the greatest people on earth are a little crazy, you know? And yeah. I mean, I just like, I've always said this about artists and stuff. You always see like the, Bob Dylan's of the world. I mean, I'm a huge DMB fan. A lot of people know Dave Matthews Band's a big part of my life. Like, Dave's a little crazy, you know, but that's what makes him great. You know, you listen to his lyrics, you're like, what the hell is he saying? You know, I think they're like the greatest creators, at least. I'm not talking about beer. Maybe beer people are. Maybe Sean Hill's a little crazy.
You gotta have some inventive ideas to be really good.
Which might not come from like social, constraints or social, things that people put upon us. You know, so it's like people live a little different lives and they create great artistic things, and I love that. You know, it's like I'm all about that. But this podcast is going all over the place. I love it.
So, how long is Northeast Beer Community? How long has it been for you? A little over a year?
A little over a year, something like that.
So we are coming up. I noticed you posted about an anniversary party, October 23rd.
I knew this was coming. Yeah.
Why don't you tell me?
Yeah, I'll talk about it.
The best part about pre-recording these, I can release them when I want.
Yeah,
so nothing is being too spoiled.
Yeah,
too
so
far
I'll throw
in
this out there. I've been kind of like, I posted in the summer. I was like, oh, let's, everybody wants to get together. COVID's, not that it's over. It's not over, but we're at a point now where maybe people get together if they're vaccinated.
Well, I'm really hoping fall doesn't, with the flu coming in, and that it doesn't, and there's no huge uptick.
Yeah, I'm hoping
I think that's going to be. That's kind of the waiting game right now. I feel like
as we go in fall. Don't jinx it.
I know. I'm gonna be positive and say everyone's gonna get a flu shot because now they need to get a flu shot.
Yeah,
so there's no confusion. But yes.
Yeah. So I guess when the time, what's today?
September 11th.
Yeah, September 11th, something like that.
The day of remembrance. By the way.
So October, I posted a little bit. I tried to post in the summer, and then summer was kind of crazy, and of course, organizing things is way harder than it seems. You know. So October 23rd, I posted about this, is going to be the anniversary party. It's in Albany, New York. I put a big poll out.
What day is that? Is that
Saturday?
Excellent. I'll be there.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
And people I expect a lot of, like I said, we talked about earlier, Treehouse followers are heavy in the community. But it's funny when I put out the poll and I was like Albany, New York, or like I think Eastern New York or Western to Eastern Mass. Actually, a heavy influx said Eastern New York, which I was like, I mean, for me, it's easier. Everybody knows not everybody knows, but if you don't know, I'm right outside of Albany area. I'm Albany County, technically. So, which I've heard many times, people are like, that is the greatest beer location on earth, which is an interesting thing. I've heard that many times. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And people are like, well, you could say you're 2 hours straight, like on the dot to Treehouse. You're 4 hours from Hill Farmstead. You're 3 hours from Alchemist. You got New York 2 hours, which is other half, Evil Twin, all that stuff. I mean, you're in Connecticut has Fox Farm and all that jazz. I mean, obviously you get out to Trillium in Boston. I mean, we're centrally located,
And it's funny you mentioned that because not even with beer, I lived in South Carolina for a while.
Okay.
So when I would tell people I'm from New York, and anybody outside of New York, if you say you're from New York, they just automatically think the city.
Yeah.
Like, no, I live upstate in Albany, and Albany gets shit on a lot.
Sure.
But like if you think about it, it's so centrally located, literally 2 hours to pretty much anything great.
Yeah.
Tops.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a great location to be in. Like all those breweries, we get their cans in all the beverage centers around.
All of them. Yeah.
We're close enough to all of those for like a quick day trip
or day trip
train ride.
I mean, to go day trip to Treehouse and Hill Farm, you could do all that in one day. You could go to Treehouse and then go to Hill.
Shit, we're in Troy right now. What are we, 30 minutes from the Vermont border? 40?
40, maybe. Yeah. Well, I always say, I always love to post about, I have a secret spot for Heady Topper. I can get it for like $13.99. And it's, for anybody listening, it's right on the border. It's in Vermont. But it's like, it's 45 minutes.
That's an off-the-air conversation
off the air conversation. It's like, it's like people, I guess right now it's probably not as sought after as it used to be. But back in the day, I would go to this place and it was right on the border. and that's where I got my heady topper. It was like it wasn't $12.70 like they were at the it is at the brewery, but I mean $13.99 for a 4-pack of heady topper. I would go up there, snag a bunch of 4-packs, and I mean, beautiful Vermont drive home.
I mean, just driving through Vermont in the fall is beautiful on its own.
Yeah.
Adding beer only adds to that equation.
Yeah, I mean, and then to add to the thing locally is, of course, Fiden's becoming so big.
I think they're ranked number 1 in the state already. There
was something like number 1 in the country with on tap rating. It was something high. I mean,
what's funny about Fiden's, like I rarely, it's hard to get there on the Saturday mornings, and speaking of Fiden's,
we're gonna crack some Fiden's Horse Collab. This is Red holding this moment.
And that was just released last week.
Last week. Yeah. Galaxy. I never know how to pronounce that. Mantuca. I never know. I love it though.
It's easier the more you drink.
Yeah. I love. Yeah. This is 7% beer, which is different from Fiden's. It's a little.
Fiden. I don't know if they may have made anything under 7% at this point.
Yeah, they've made a few. Well, I would say Steve Parker says. I don't know if he says pretty regular, but Steve has said like one of his favorite expressions of any beer is pale ales. And then one of my favorite beers they make is Hatchet. I like Proper Education, and those are all under 7. I think Proper Education 5.8. It's something like that. Yeah, I just love what they do, and I love that they did 3 different versions of this. I was kind of hoping they would do.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. They did the
cool.
single, double, and triple IPA version.
But the IPAs, I think, are different hops, which I didn't know that. I thought they were all the same, which I thought was going to be fun. Now that's not that it's not fun vertical, because I think the fourth one or the third one is the first 2 combined. But
oh wow.
I just I got excited. I love to see beers at different ABVs. It shows like, oh, what can you do here? And I think this is phenomenal for 7%.
Yeah, like I said, the funny thing I've only been to Fiden, I've only gotten Fidens maybe 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And now they of course only do their cans on Saturday mornings, super early. I can't get there that early, so on the rare occasion that I do get some, I feel like I gotta hoard it and make it last.
Sure. Well, people always I always post a lot about it, and maybe I've probably turned a lot of people onto it that follow the community that are Treehouse lovers and stuff. And people are always like, you keep posting about this Fiden's. Like, what is this? And I was like, it's just good beer.
It is. Did I dream this, or did they not post that they got some new tanks recently?
They did some new tanks. I don't know if they're set up. I don't know or not.
So kind of hoping they increase quantity a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully they increase quantity, or hope they start putting out a few more days besides Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
Just so sought after. I always said, well, I got on this conversation before and I got cut off. We went on some tangent. So I was saying that when I used to go to Fiden's, it was like $15 or $16 a crowler, like in the crowler days when they only released crowlers.
Yep.
And for me, I just talked about, the heady topper for $13.99, or if I go up to the brewery, $12.70. I was like, I get a 4-pack. And for cheaper than one-time crack, because crowlers you got to pour all in one time.
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
you gotta if you're gonna open a crowler, you gotta be ready to drink 2 beers.
You got to have somebody with you. I mean, so essentially, I'd pour it somebody, and I'd pay $16 for it. You know, it's like, not that it's not good. I mean, and I also say this. I wrote about it in the Very Hazy post, but it was at the end of that post. I said, hey, even though the Very Hazy was a little bit of a letdown for me, I'm going to keep drinking this beer because beer can get better. I mean, I think I've told Steve Parker's the head brewer at Fides. Like I've said to him, I was like, I think my first was Necessary Means for Necessary Means.
Yep.
Obviously, if you taste it today, it wouldn't be the same thing because it's old and malty and whatever. But I would guarantee you that beers have gotten better.
Oh yeah.
Like brewers, they're craft, they're artists. Like they figure out what they need to. They drink the beer too, and they know more than anybody what
they fine tune their craft. And the more you drink it along the way, the more you understand the subtleties. And
Absolutely.
I think you get used to them.
And Fiden's gotten better. Fiden's gotten better. I mean, people always ask why did Fiden's explode? I'm like, Fiden's exploded because, their beer was always good. Their beer is I thought at times great. It's gotten phenomenal, and it's gotten cheaper. At least when they first started coming out, it was $5 per 4-pack, or $5 per single can, which was, $20 a 4-pack plus tax.
Yep.
And now they've bumped it up, but it's
it's like between $5 and $6 a can.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
Yeah, which is cheaper than the crowler.
Yeah.
And to me, then I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I start going there now, or maybe start going there again. And I was there at the first Fiden's 16-ounce can release because I was like, their beer's great and it's cheaper. Good.
I feel I pulled up one day. I was gonna get some fight-ins. Maybe it was like 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Sure.
Not long after they started selling the 16-ounce cans, and this is how you knew they were definitely starting to become sought after. I got there at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and this was before they started selling it. Probably like 7 or even earlier. Whenever they do now, it seems random. There are literally 100 cars in line. Yeah. That's not an exaggeration. Like, holy shit, I don't have time for this.
Yeah. Well, I remember going off the first weekend. I was like, I got all their beers. I always say, use it up. Their beer, they released it this weekend. I said, that is one of the greatest beer experiences. You talk about your stories from a bar, beer stories, whatever. I sat down on my couch. I was ready to go someplace with my fiance, and I was like, oh, like she's taking a while. I might as well crack a beer before we go. She's driving, whatever. So I grab a use it up from the fridge. I pour it in a Craft Master from Fidens, which I love drinking. Craft Masters are great. The raw style Craft Masters are great for drinking a single beer. You had it all yourself. It's all in there. And it was use it up. And I just sat on that couch, and I, not purposely, but I just naturally, wanted to chug it. Like, it was just the most delicious thing I've ever tasted. And to this day, I was like, the last batch they did, I was like, I tasted, I was like, maybe it's just nostalgia. I was like, this isn't as good. But this recent batch that they dropped today, I was like, this is delicious. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that beer, maybe it's just a moment in time. Maybe, obviously our palates changed too. But that beer changed it for me for Fidens. And then the next weekend, I was like, oh, I'm going to go and stop over. Because these guys, this was the one that was freezing cold. We're in January of Albany, New York.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking close to negative at times, whatever.
Teens are the high.
And these guys are hanging out just, doing cards and stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm going to stop over at the local, bagel shop and pick them up some bagels. Bring it to them. I thought it'd be a nice gesture. I was like, I'm going to go at 9:30, which, you show up at 5 and stay at 9:30, you're not getting beer.
It's pretty much when they're posting their sold out posts.
Yeah, that's when they're doing it. And so I showed up at 9. I'm driving, right? And I get a little, you're not supposed to, look your phone and check, but I look at it. And there's a Facebook group, and people were like, there's 15 people in line already. And I was like, oh my God. I'm not going to not that I won't get beer, but I was trying to make the allotments. Yeah. I was like, oh my God. So I was like, oh, I guess I'm not getting bagels for them. I just got in line. I mean, it was just a crazy, crazy
kudos to them for starting the allotment thing. I think that really helped them because there wasn't an allotment total when they first started selling those cans, I don't think.
I don't know. I never really thought about that. Maybe.
Because I remember when they, I vaguely remember when they first started posting that where they're going to have allotments now. Get there, get in line, fill out your form.
Yeah. It's just great. I mean, you pull up to that parking lot, middle of the night. I mean, you'll find people there at 7 p.m. the night before.
I love those pictures of people posting outside in their campers. I'm like, oh my God, that's dedication.
The RV, the Mortalis weekend was definitely, I would say, one of the greatest weekends. Maybe maybe I just had a good time, but that really, when they did Mortalis and people were showing up at 1 a.m.
Jesus.
That was crazy at the time, which now people show up the night before, but that really secured them. And then that beer was great. I mean, it's Rossi's Axe was great, and then the Brothers.
As much as I'd like to, stock up on those, I don't think I could bring myself to get there at that hour.
I don't know. I mean, I always said, but that's also where you get part of the community. People always talk about line shares and stuff, where you get to try some other stuff. People bring in stuff from other places. I've met so many people in lines of beer shares, which I love. I mean, it's not for everybody.
No.
Some people like to grab their 4-pack, go home and drink it, on the couch and hang out. And some people like to do beer shares and, drink, Cantillon bottles and all these, very fancy shishi foo things.
I do most of my drinking at home, but that's because all my money now goes to a house instead of.
Yeah, I know. I've heard you talk about a few podcasts now. You've talked about the house.
So I don't have as much going out money these days.
Yeah, beer's expensive. I started talking about price. Yeah, so then they started doing 16-ounce cans, and it was cheaper. I was like, not that I'm on the fight, but also their beer got better. It's fun.
So tell me about your logo. I like the logo, by the way. Who created it?
Yeah, I guess I'll dig a little bit about that. So when I was super early on, I think my just picture was maybe a very good green picture, a picture of a treehouse, just a nice picture I took, and one of the guys that follow us, Corey, how do I say it? I think it's Riper. But a person that followed us early on, name was Corey, followed me, and he had in his description graphic designer, Austin, Texas. I'm like, why is this Austin, Texas guy? He followed me. So I DM'd him. He's like,
it's the only place in Texas I'd be willing to go.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they got Jester King, they got other breweries, but I was like, all right, like, would you be willing to do a logo for us? I was like, I know you're graphic. I saw a graphic designer your logo. Like, any shot you'd want to do this. And he said, sure. So we talked about stuff. And of course we went back and forth on designs. And I was saying I might want mountains in it, Northeast, Adirondacks, blah, blah, blah. And then, I don't know, somehow we landed on a color scheme. And a lot of my color scheme was like, I wanted that, which I hate to, treehouse it, but it's like, the color of green, the color of Julius. And then I just liked that softish blue. That was, the stone blue. And I was like, that's what I want to do. And then we put together, and he made it, and Corey made it. And I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then I put it on the Rostov 60-ounce glass. I was like, oh, I'm selling these. And people just ate them up. And I was like, I think they sold out in 1 week. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And people are like, more glass. And I always get followers that are like, where do I get these glasses? Because on my website, it's sold out. And I'm like, and we were talking about before, it's like, selling glassware is not easy. Shipping, it's not easy. Thank God I didn't have one break in the mail.
That's one of the reasons. Like, I have a couple cases I got of my pint glasses.
Sure.
And I don't ship them. I generally look for people local so I can drop them off. Besides the money that it costs to ship, I'm like, I don't want to try to figure that out and go through and worry about them getting there.
Well, people are like, oh, are you making money on this? It's like, I'm probably losing money on this. Like,
no, yeah, I'm not making money.
I'm shipping.
I'm giving them away basically for advertising.
Like, I get these glasses and they're expensive, and then I'm shipping them, and shipping plus bubble wrap plus all this stuff plus shipping labels plus time. I posted like a few pictures of I'm always like Amazon warehouse here. It's like I got all these boxes lining the walls of going out to. It's funny, they're all Connecticut, Massachusetts, stuff like that, but it's still expensive.
No, yeah.
And I went to the cheapest thing I could, like shipping wise, USPS, all that pirate ship, whatever. It's still expensive. People are like, you're making money. I'm like, I'm not making any money. I'm like losing money on this whole thing. That's all the beer I drink and buy. I always say this. My beer intake has definitely gone up because of the beer community. Because I feel, not that I feel obligated.
Well, mine's gone up because of the podcast.
Yeah. It's like you feel obligated to post. You feel like you need to. I definitely felt like I need to drink more, which is not a good thing. But I'm like, I also want to post.
I like to tell myself I'm able to restrict myself from not drinking on work nights.
Okay.
At the very least.
Yeah, you'll see me. I post
occasionally one or two of those slips through.
Yeah, Monday through Friday, I definitely have been posting. I post a lot. I'm a good amount. I try to keep it. Well, because the more you post, the more oversaturated. But you want to post
again. Social media is like a full-time job, man.
People. Trust me, I know. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. Family-wise, fiance-wise. Dealing with beer community, like. I love these guys. I always try to interact and comment and like everything and just be super on it. But it's like, it's also, beer is also if I had a coffee community, it'd be phenomenal. I wake up in the morning, post my coffee, talk about coffee. Great. I'm not hanging out with family. I'm laying in bed. I would be great. The problem is when you post beer at 6 o'clock at night, you're at some dinner and you're trying to respond to everybody. It's super tough. It's not easy. It's at the wrong time.
Or 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, and who knows? I have a few too many, right? And I'm like, I wake up the next morning. I'm like, 40 notifications to Twitter. I'm like, oh my god, like I missed it all, which is fine. I'm glad if I had a good night. I missed you guys, but like, I don't need to. I used to have my notifications just come to my phone. I just cut it off because I was like, I'll be out to dinner. You put your phone on the table, and I'm like, everybody's staring at my phone because just.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Notification all. I'm like, and everybody's like, "Oh, Mr. Popular," and I'm like, "Nah, it's just a bunch of people that like beer, but
just a lot of drunks.
Turn it over.
It's drunks looking to talk.
Yeah, they always want to talk. They're not people. They're great. We had I need to do more of those. I want to do we did like a virtual happy hour once.
Yep.
And that was fun. I liked it. I just love talking to people. I love seeing. I love going to breweries and seeing people I know. This is our last beer.
Yeah.
We're done. Fuck. Yeah.
Well, we can crack that one open. We're heading.
Yeah, so I guess we're having greenish, which I've never had.
I'm looking forward. That's another Treehouse, right?
Treehouse pale ale version of green, which is, I've always said is my favorite vertical. Very.
So this will be my first and second Treehouse beer.
Yeah, I guess. This is just a great beer.
But it's funny.
I guess I don't know yet. So
it's funny when it comes to the logo. Yeah, I used like a stock photo I could find, and then did the best I could to learn like Photoshop in like an hour just to put my name on it when I first started. And then I eventually reached out to a graphic artist.
Did it.
pretty much around my 3rd-year anniversary because I wanted to redo the logo and everything. Yeah. And I pulled her up so I can make sure I can give her a proper shout out. Lena Bain, LenaBanegx at Lena Bain GX on Twitter. She did an awesome job. Yeah, and when I was telling her what I wanted, I sent her a picture of a Common Roots can.
Oh, okay.
Because I love the color scheme on the can. I can't remember the actual beer now. I mentioned it in the Common Roots episode.
Your
so go back, cool. People, and listen to that.
Your colors remind me of
well, I wanted like the 80s
Mardi
neon
Gras.
sign.
I get Mardi Gras like that. It's like the yellow with the is it green and purple? It's something
yeah,
it's like that. It's
a
like
little yellow in it.
Yeah, I always say that. I mean,
well,
cool.
I wanted to do the neon sign. I wanted a little like 80s colorish, and I felt like that color scheme was great. So shout out to her, and of course Common Roots again.
Great. Yeah,
Common Roots is probably one of my favorite local places.
I don't drink enough Common Roots. I mean, local stuff. I always say I don't get around to. I don't have not that I don't have because I drink a bunch of other shit, but I try to drink as much local as I can, but it's hard. How much beer can you drink in a day? It's a good question. I think one time John Kimmick from Alchemist said that he drank 12 heady toppers in a day, and it was enough for him.
Jesus.
Is that like a festival or something? It's the most he ever drank.
That's on my bucket list is to get a chat with him for the podcast.
He's great. I always love him. And there's something about John Kimmick and Alchemist that I love them. I love Nate, Treehouse, all that stuff. But I was talking about the anniversary party. I meant to talk about that earlier. Yeah. I guess I'm bringing stuff up for myself to talk about. Yeah. So the anniversary party is October 23rd.
That's delicious.
Is it good? Green.
Nice.
I haven't tried it yet. I love green. October 23rd. It's at Mohawk Taproom in Albany, and I haven't decided. I have to figure out. Well, you talk about artists. So the second glass we did, which was the light blue, and we had the two logos, which was the Compass logo, which didn't have Northeast below it, and then just says Northeast Beer Community. One of my favorite 13-ounce tulip. I love that glass. I love everything about it. And Corey did both of those logos as well. So now I kind of have like a normal logo and two alternatives. So then for the anniversary, I said, I want to do a Teku glass. I love Teku glasses, the stem Teku glasses.
I need one of those. I actually don't have one. I have so many different glasses, and that's actually one I don't have.
Well, now you'll get one. So,
excellent.
Yeah, so that glass is going to be coming out soon. It's going to be, I don't know if I want to, I guess I'll talk about it a little bit. So it's the alternative logo that says Northeast Beer Community in the middle. And then there's a bunch of the little compasses all over the glass. It's a wrapped Teku glass. Nice. It says 1 anniversary down the side, and it's going to be like gold flakes, so like metallic gold.
Okay.
All the logos will be that, and then the rim will kind of be like a Stella glass where it's like gold on top.
Sweet.
Yeah, so that's going to kind of be like, so when people, I haven't decided on price. It's all going to whatever the price. I mean, I never make money on this stuff, so it's going to be whatever the base price, whatever the cheapest I can do it at, everybody's going to get it at. And kind of when you show up to the event, hopefully, when you buy your ticket, the ticket will include the Teku glass.
I just went to take a sip from my microphone instead of my actual beer. It's starting to kick in.
It does look good. Yeah, it's starting to kick in. So, so the Teku glass, and then the Teku glasses will be used the entire time when you're drinking at Mohawk. Hopefully, people will bring some good bottles and stuff like that too. We can do a mini share and stuff. So
I want to make some of those can-shaped glasses. That's my next goal.
They're pretty cool. I like those.
Yeah. Goldilocks Promos did my current set of pint glasses. Shout out to them. They were super awesome in their process. Because I gave them my logo. They weren't happy with the first batch, so they basically redid everything for me. Okay. Some of the best customer service I've ever had. Wow. Huh. So shout out to Goldilocks Promos if you're looking in the capital region. If you're looking for
Goldilocks Promos.
Yeah. Right. Looking for someone to do work for you. They do awesome work.
I eat Grandstand or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're fine. Whatever.
And, of course, I'm just giving them out for free. So if anybody wants a pint glass, feel free to hit me up on social media.
Yeah, I mean, so the other thing with the anniversary party, and I talked about this a little earlier, is hopefully it will be announced by the time this podcast is coming out. We hope so.
That's the beauty of this. If I don't release this till October, I have so much time to not edit it.
I guess.
It's great. I mean, I will feel not rushed at all.
Yeah. So at the anniversary party, I mean, obviously you can buy it at the brewery, but we'll be doing a collab beer with Warbler Brewing.
Awesome. Chris is a great guy.
Yeah,
wasn't that on the podcast back in May-ish? Somewhere right around there?
Super talented.
Warbler beers are awesome, man.
Awesome.
He probably makes one of my favorite Pilsners I've ever had.
Awesome Pilsners. He does English styles beautifully. And he's really gotten like the The IPA's down
Just
too.
Del Mar's so far from
you?
where I live in Rotterdam.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, he just makes great beer, and it's like I said, he's so talented when it comes to beer stuff. You know, you ask him a question about like he knows everything about brewing beer, and that's awesome. Like the science of it, I'm like,
Yeah.
You know, he talks, I'm like lost in the sauce. You know, I'm like, what is he saying? I mean, I know some brewing stuff, obviously, but yeah, he's super talented. So yeah, so we're doing a collab beer with them. It's a 10%, which is kind of daunting, you know, kind of scary for people, but 10% triple, all Citra.
I'm a big fan of Citra. I am. I've always.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody is. I think Citra's probably the best hop, like when it comes to juicy beers. I've always, you know, so 10% triple, HDHC, which is hop density, hop charge, which
Even I did not know that.
which other half uses a bunch. It's like it's like concentrate hop. It's awesome. So we're doing that. We're gonna be brewing that probably in the next week or two, probably. So probably
Nice.
some pictures will be on social media for people to see.
Awesome.
And that will be on tap. I want to say it. I mean, I guess you can quote me on this. It will be on tap for free at the event.
All right.
Yeah, I don't want people to pay for my beer. That's like because it's not my beer; it's everybody's beer. I've always said that.
Another thing about not releasing this episode until October, I'll be able to promote the hell out of it.
Yeah, that's true. I'm super stoked about it. I'm like, this is like you told me, like you said a year ago, this community is this big. Yeah, okay, like that's
Yeah. So, what is your impression now from when you first kind of got this off the ground to how big it's gotten so far? Like I mean, when you first started this, did you have some kind of vision?
None
For it?
No. I always say right now, like I'm still like seeking for a vision. Like where is this gonna go? You know, am I gonna start, you know, brewing more beer? Am I gonna, you know, get into like, do I want to, you know, have a tap room? I have no idea. Would it be awesome to have a tap room? Northeast Beer Community. It's like a super safe space for people to just come and drink and have fun, share beers. Like sharing's okay, all that type of jazz. Like that sounds great too. I don't know. I mean, it's all over the board. Like, should I just keep writing and just keep it how it is? Like, of course, I want to do more shares. Obviously, everything won't be like the anniversary party, but like I want to do more shares. You know, Western Mass, Central Mass. Go to Treehouse, have 20 people show up and just hang out and drink. What's going on? It's like a bunch of people that just like beer and are nice people.
Yeah.
I like nice people.
Well, like it's one of the reasons I started the podcast. Like I just love drinking and talking to strangers.
Sure.
Two things you're told not to do as a kid.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, and
you rehearsed that line though.
Yeah, I've said it before.
That's too good.
I've said it before. But like, and we talked about this briefly. I think before we started recording, like one of the classes I took before I graduated, the only class I could take was a radio class.
That's crazy.
And that's literally what gave me the skills to edit these episodes. I don't do anything. I haven't done anything with it before I started the podcast, and I haven't really done anything with it since. But I'm like, and as I go on, like I love doing this more than my actual job, of course.
Sure.
Because it's fun, just drinking and chatting. Until I sit down to edit, of course, and I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
But
editing's not fun.
Then I start to think about like, what would I really enjoy doing in life? I would love to own like a brewery or tap room at some point. I don't know if I could brew beer myself though. I think not that I wouldn't like to learn. I would start actually now that I have a house and a basement. I kind of want to get into making some wine.
That'd be cool. I don't know.
I think that would be fun.
Yeah, beer's tough. Beer's really tough. I mean, it's super tough. You know, it's I guess probably wine's similar, but like, you know, little things make big differences.
Yeah.
You know, I always say people, why is, Fiden's unique? And many times brewers will say the water. People are like blown away. Like, what do you mean? Like colony water? It's like,
no, I've had that mentioned a lot. Yeah.
A lot. Yeah. I mean, most brewers will tell you water is one of the biggest, if not the biggest thing that affects beer. You know, home brewers will tell you like, go and buy like, don't use tap water. Go use like Poland Spring water. Go get bottled water because it's like you need this to be like, dialed in. And then a lot of the pros will add stuff. I say pros, the brewers will add like, certain things to water to make it, less acidic or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely, because you asked like, we tried that Treehouse beer. It was phenomenal. We tried the Fiden's beer. Phenomenal. Both different, both soft in different ways. I mean, and these guys, most of the time they're getting their hops from the same spot. I mean, I know Treehouse is going out this week or next week or something, and they're going to go pick their hops in Yakima Valley, which is, they have the ability to buy lots of hops and just pick them as go apple picking.
Yep.
A lot of these brews, are more like what you talked about. You talked about with the beer store. They get delivered. We buy apples and the apples are delivered. It's like, imagine going to you go to the grocery store, you pick out the best looking apple. Instead, these breweries are sitting there and they just get apples delivered from the store, which is like, all of them aren't the same. Not of them all equal.
It's funny. In talking to the brewers that I have, when I asked them about like their location and how they ended up where they were, some of them have definitely mentioned because of the water.
Sure. Yeah.
Like especially Unified Beer Works, I think, who I think makes some of the best beer in the area as well.
And they're right next to Active.
Yeah.
You've been up there.
I haven't checked out Active yet.
They're doing good stuff up there. I like it. I don't know. I've been up there. I posted about them a few times. I went up there. Really nice hospitality. They're just good people and do some different stuff.
Yeah,
for sure. They're doing some good stuff. So yeah, I love Unified. I love Active. I like getting up there. They're right next to each other, which is cool.
Oh, they're like practically walking distance.
Yeah, technically, but I think you go through the woods. It's like a little dicey.
I mean, it's not a clear path.
It's like actually probably a football. Not even a football field away, but it's like
the more you drink, the less you care.
Guess.
That probably seems like a good place to start wrapping things up as we're hitting the hour mark and we've chugged a lot of beer.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like wondering how much.
No, I think that's probably going to. Let's start wrapping this up. So I think that's a wrap. Like I said, on another successful edition of Stories from a Bar. Big thank you, Jake from Northeast Beer Community. I almost forgot the name. Sorry. Like I said, we just chugged.
Four, five? Yeah, I don't know.
We drank 4 beers in the span of an hour.
What was the best one? It's a good question.
It was definitely one of the Treehouse. I think it was the Julius. I like the Julius the best.
Yeah, I think so too. That was it's soup. That's fresh, but that's uber fresh. That's the candid on this. I love how they put.
What was the California West Coast one? Sticky Fingers.
Yeah, sliced.
That was delicious.
Yeah, sliced. They make probably my best. I think they make the best West Coast stuff. I love West Coast. Who doesn't?
There's so many. Living in New England, there's so many New England IPAs around here. When you hit a good West Coast one, that's fantastic. That's always great to find.
Not that they're not memorable. It's like not that I don't remember what Sticky Flowers tasted like, but
Sticky Flowers. I think I said Sticky Fingers.
But it's one of those things like they're almost. It was so drinkable. Like we didn't even talk about it. Oh, it was just gone, and we were like,
yeah.
Oh, that was a beer. It's like it's so interesting how they just go down like this. But that's the point of them. It's awesome.
It's like these were. What was great about these? I love a beer that feels like it's melting in my mouth, and that's what these do.
Yeah.
Especially Julius. That was fantastic. Yeah. That was my first Treehouse.
You have to get more Treehouse.
I do. Like I said, I have been meaning to take a drive out there and just fucking stock up one of these days.
You got to.
Now that it's fall, it's a beautiful time to drive.
Honestly, their beer also is like some of the best at retaining flavor.
Oh yeah.
Like 3-month-old Julius is pretty damn good. I mean, their cans. I don't want to get into the nitty gritty, but like when you crack certain cans, you'll see a good depth of oxygen above it, like room for oxygen. Most of the time, Treehouse cans, like you crack it, it's like very sliver. And it's like, but like that helps. The oxygen. They always say crowlers. The reason crowlers don't hold up is because oxygen is way more susceptible in those. Like these are, their canning line at Treehouse is, it must be phenomenal because
interesting.
Their weight of their beers are heavy. I don't know what the grams are, but like you can weigh your beers and be like, this is blank grams, and be like, this is full, so it'll probably hold longer, which people don't do, but maybe I do because I'm weird. I'll be like, oh, this has no oxygen in it, kind of. So also like denser beers, like IPAs,
man,
whatever.
But thanks, Jake from Northeast Beer Community for hanging out, and your buddy Kip, right? Kip. Napoleon Dynamite's brother, as far as I'm concerned. I've had enough beer where I'm just going to say Napoleon Dynamite's brother as I point. Be sure to follow Northeast Beer Community and all the social medias. Are you on Facebook?
No
Facebook. So Twitter and Instagram.
People always want Facebook groups. I'm like, no, I don't want that.
At NE Beer Community, as well as checking nebeercommunity.com. Anything else you want to throw in an ad? I'll put this out a week or so before your anniversary party.
Yeah, I guess. Come to the anniversary party. It's gonna be a lot of fun. A lot of beer.
Mohawk Tap Room, which is a great fucking place.
Great place.
Village Scotia. Great food.
Yeah, maybe some secret taps on tap kind of thing. Some secret beers.
I'll be there.
Yeah, you'll be there.
That's all you need.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. I guess I'll wrap this up.
All right. And again, a huge thank you and shout out to Dave Gardell and his crew at the Ruck. If you're ever in Troy, New York, be sure to stop in at the Ruck. Great beer selection, great food, most importantly.
Wings.
Awesome
wing
wings.
sauce. Yes.
Might have to grab some before I go home without questioning it. Yes. He won't. I'll have to listen to the episode. He wouldn't give me the recipe to the wings or the blue cheese. I don't remember.
Yeah. It's good beer. It's
so
everything.
just I don't blame him.
Rock.
I don't blame him. They have great wings. Just come here for wings if that's what you want to do. Plus the great beer selection, drafter cans. So a huge shout out to the Rock in Troy. And of course, a huge thank you everyone out there for checking out the show. You can of course follow Stories from a Bar on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at StoriesFAB to keep up with everything that's going on with the show. Also be sure to check out Popcorn and Pints, which I stream on Saturday nights, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube with 2 or 3 buddies of mine where we just get drunk and talk about movies. That's usually Saturday nights at 9, so be sure to check out Popcorn and Pints. Don't forget Stories for your discount code from Uptown Beverage if you're ordering beer online and want some delivery, especially if you've been day drinking. Don't go out. They are happy to deliver you your beer at a 3% discount. You'll find Stories from a Bar on all major podcast platforms, so be sure to like and subscribe. Even more importantly, leave a fantastic review and share the hell out of it. And until next time, cheers.